Hi, friends. Hope you've had a good day so far, and thanks for joining me on this edition of Financial Talk. So, as your go to personal and business finance coach, I try to bring topics that are more pressing and relevant to these times that we're facing. And over the last few weeks, I've been sharing a lot of different topics about personal finance. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from you guys about how useful and helpful those topics have been. But I don't only coach personal financial planning, I also do business financial planning as well. So today it's time for us to turn to businesses, and in particular, family owned businesses. And what we're going to be talking about today has to do with some of the challenges family owned businesses are facing as a result of the global economic downturn, and some of the things that they can do in order to keep the business afloat. Okay, but before I do that, I also wanted to share with you some of the things you may not be aware of when it comes to family owned businesses and the role they play when it comes to global economic growth and development. Okay, so there's a yearly ranking of about 750 family owned businesses. And what that ranking does is that it looks at sort of the contributions that family owned businesses have made to the global economy. And as of 2018, I should say, family owned businesses actually brought in $9.1 trillion in revenue. That's 9.1 trillion, not billion, but $1 trillion in revenue, and employed over 35 million people. That's a lot. That's a huge player. And what a lot of people don't know is the large sort of corporations you see are actually family-owned businesses that started out as maybe small mom and pop shops and grew over the years. A lot of them have been around for many years. And so people don't see them as family-owned businesses, but they are. And one example, I think there's a major example that people are familiar with, just given the nature of what the business does, which is Walmart. And they've been around for a long time, but there are a lot more family-owned businesses that people are not aware of. And so today we'll talk about the small to medium-sized family-owned businesses and the challenges they're facing at this time. One of the unique things about family-owned businesses is that they're run by family members, obviously, and so that relationship, the family relationship, allows them to be able to, bring their own values, okay, that they then are able to, sell to their customers, if you know what I mean. They share the same values, they share common goals, and so they're able to package that as part of whatever product or services they're selling to their customers. And that helps the business grow. That helps the business to flourish. But only to the extent that that particular family-owned business also has very clear business and financial structures, which unfortunately a lot of family-owned businesses don't tend to have, especially when they're smaller. There isn't always a clear line between, the business structure and family affairs. So they tend to sort of intermix, and that cannot be good. And especially now, because it does affect the business and also the financial aspect as well. There isn't always a clear financial structure. Sometimes, the pay structure is not clear. It's not really in line with sort of the industry standard. It's not in line with, certain qualifications. And all of those things, are affecting family-owned businesses at this time. How, you may ask? Well, as with any other business or most businesses, the economic downturn as a result of the global pandemic is affecting, businesses across the board. So if you're a business that wasn't paying attention to, kind of the structure and your financials, you'll be facing challenges. Like family-owned businesses are facing challenges right now. Oftentimes they don't have a lot of debt. That's not the problem. The problem is the cash flow, and the cash flow presenting liquidity challenges because they haven't been able to manage their financials or have clear financial structures to sustain the business over a long period of time. So that's one problem. The other problem is that, family-owned businesses usually start out having physical stores, storefronts or shops or whatever you want to call them, because the way they grow is by that interaction, the interaction they have with their customers, the physical interaction. And with this global pandemic, everybody is forced to social distance and physical distance. And so customers are not able to patronize family-owned businesses as much as they used to. And obviously, as I said, it's affecting financials. And part of the challenge is that family-owned businesses, typically when they start out, don't consider like the online or digital channels, because again, they're focused on bringing people in physically and building and cultivating that relationship, because oftentimes it's built on trust and loyalty and getting to know the people over time. And right now, as a lot of people are trying to move their businesses from kind of the physical storefronts to an online presence, it's not always easy for those small to medium family-owned businesses. Why? Because it requires investing in that technology infrastructure. It's not as easy, as just opening a Facebook page or Instagram page. Depending on what they're selling, they have to, actually create a storefront. But more importantly, family-owned businesses thrive on that sort of physical relationships. And so, not having that also, is something that obviously is affecting a lot of family-owned businesses at this time. Another thing that is affecting family-owned businesses in general is kind of the input materials, to create the products or even services that they provide to their local customers. Supply chains have been affected all over the place, local and international. And so, in order to get some of these things to create their products or services, it's costing a lot more, okay? And having to increase prices sometimes doesn't go too well. I'll ignore that little bug that's flying over my head. Doesn't go too well with, the customers. So it's presenting a challenge. So for family-owned businesses, being able to communicate that, I think by and large people would understand that, but it's sometimes the relationship is too close, even with customers, that trying to communicate sort of a price increase is actually affecting some family-owned businesses. Okay. So with that said, what are some of the things that family-owned businesses can do at the moment to sort of stay afloat and ensure that there's business continuity? Well, one of the things that family-owned businesses need to realize is that, or I should say, sometimes family-owned businesses, the leader or sort of the family members sometimes feel like they know the business too well, and they really don't need an outsider to come in and tell them how they can do things differently. Well, that's not true. Sometimes you need sort of new set of eyes, an independent advisor or an industry expert in your particular, whatever industry you serve, to come in and take a look at how you're running your business and probably give you advice on some of the things that you can do differently that can save you money and help you to the family business to stay afloat. Another thing that I would mention is, right now there are actually some business grants out there that small to medium-sized family businesses can, look for to sort of help them, support them financially, to pay salaries and cover overhead and some of those things in order to keep the business going. Okay, if you can't find those because they're not always available and sometimes difficult to get, family-owned businesses, especially the ones that don't have any debt or a lot of debt, and usually they don't because they don't start out. They start out with their own funds and they build the business organically. So if you're a family-owned business that doesn't have any debt, or little or no debt, I should say, you can consider applying for a loan. And if you're going to do that, you're going to need to make sure that you have a very good financial structure. So this is when your financials really matter. Your balance sheets, everything that has to do with running your business, is in order financially, because those are the papers that the banks would ask for in order to make sure that you have a legitimate business, a business that has good cash flow projections and all of those good things. So I would say if you have the option to apply for a bank loan, in case you can't get a grant, then you should consider that. The other thing I would say in terms of family-owned businesses is that sometimes in trying to expand, they start out working on projects, or if you're a family-owned business who's working on a project that requires a lot of capital at this time, or is using up a lot of capital at this time, pause, okay, and focus on just keeping the business afloat. Okay, leave that project or pause that project at the moment, because obviously you don't want to sink all your funds into a project that is probably going to eat up a lot of your cash flow, and that you can't really build up given the circumstances and what's going on globally at the moment. Okay, so that's something that you might want to consider as well. Okay, and finally, I would just say, as a small to medium-sized family-owned business, obviously you've built trust and loyalty with your customers. Stay in touch with them. Let them know you still exist. Some of the and make yourself relevant to your local community. Some of the family-owned businesses out there today are actually selling sanitizers and masks and things like that to address sort of the global pandemic as well. If you have the ability to do that as a family-owned business, you could. Is a way to also generate income as well. A lot of people are pivoting, if you will, to provide things that are essential right now in order to just stay connected with their customers. So that's something that family-owned businesses can do as well. Okay, so this is not an exhaustive list. It's just some ideas and things that small to medium-sized family-owned businesses can do, to stay afloat and continue to operate and get through this very difficult times. All right, so that's what I wanted to share with you. But I also wanted to leave you with whatever you want to call it. If anyone can guess the number one family-owned business in the world, okay? You can comment below this video. I just want to know if people are thinking what I'm thinking. Probably not, because the obvious choice is probably Walmart, but I can tell you it's not Walmart. They're top 5, but it's not Walmart. So it's just for you to think more broadly about some of those corporations when you see them, that they could be family-owned business, and keep in mind that they're very vital to economic development. So if you have any guesses, please comment below this video. Okay, until next time, I want to wish you well. But don't forget to share this video with your friends or anybody who owns a family-owned business who can benefit from this video. Okay, so I want to wish you well. Until next time, take care of yourselves and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye now.